Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 3 of the Centre Circle podcast. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen so far. Tonight, we've got a heavyweight panel, as you can see, including a tipping point champion, the Keith Andrews tribute act, and a guy who's taking a shit outside Pelsall Villa Cricket Club. And then there's me. Contrary to the traditional Valentine's theme, there'll be no love lost tonight as we venture into some very controversial subjects. And I'll go balls deep into the demise of Nuno. So stay tuned in as that's coming up a little bit later. That's enough for me for now anyway, so let's crack on. Question to the panel, and I'm just going to open this out to everyone. The term big club is branded around often these days. So in what order would you rank the 4 Midlands teams and why?
Who wants to go first?
I'll start. Villa, Wolves, Albion, Blues, in that order. You want me to? Shall I explain why?
No, I'm going to go with Villa, Wolves, Blues, Albion. But you go first.
All right. This pains me to say this, but Villa are the biggest club by far. I think we've had this discussion last couple of days. Villa have got the history, probably the biggest team at the moment. More fans, I'd probably say. No dispute there from me. Close as Wolves, Albion. I think if you asked the question 10 years ago whether Wolves are bigger than Albion, I'd probably say no. 10 years, they've come on leaps and bounds. They've got a new owner in. They've got better players than us. They've probably got more fans than us. Probably helps that they're the only club at Wolverhampton, really, whereas, catchment area for Villa, Blues and Albion is probably all the same place, to be fair. But over the past couple of years, I'd find it hard to argue that Albion are a bigger club than Wolves, as much as it pains me to say. Where I'm standing firm here is we are a much bigger club than Blues. 9 major honours, West Brom, 5 FA Cups. We've won the first division, albeit 100 years ago, but we'll forget that. When you look at recent history, right, look how many years we've been in the Premier League, right? People got us down as a yo-yo club. We were relegated once in between 10-11 and when we went down last 18-19. Look at Premier League points totals as a whole. We're 20th in the table. Blues are 30th. Look at what the club's done in terms of, promoting the acceptance of black footballers. We had the 3 degrees. So I think the club really proud of that, of what we've done in terms of the promotion of black footballers. Attendances in the past couple of years are all Albion. I'd argue that the Hawthorns is a much better ground than St Andrews. I think St Andrews might have more capacity, but there's no fans that ever turn up there, to be fair. Highest place.
The look on his face then, the look on his
Hawthorns is a shithole. St Andrews
finish
is a shithole, but Hawthorns is also a shithole.
I mean, it's the toy box. It looks a nice ground. Highest place finish, Premier League, 8th, Blues, 9th. All right, you won the Mickey Mouse Cup a few years back. You went down the same season, so that doesn't even count, to be fair. I think Dale was speaking the other day about Swansea. Swansea beat Bradford a couple of years after and then went into Europe as well. I mean,
made them a bigger club than Spurs because they're
exactly that.
more recent.
Well, exactly that.
Trophies are the currency of success. There's no denying that. But you can't be clinging on to a Carling Cup win of 10 years ago and saying that is making you, a bigger club than even Wolves, because that's one of the things forward as a fair argument.
Last one.
Personally, I would put Villa at the top, probably based on history, the fact that they have got a European Cup to the name. That is the ultimate in club football. But I think we're a comfortable second, to be honest. And then I would put. Personally, I have said in recent days that I do think Blues perhaps marginally over West Brom, but looking into it and looking at the argument, looking back, I think there's quite a big gulf in major trophies won historically, and there's not much between the two sides. The ground, I probably would say, they are both shitholes. St Andrews is probably the worst of the two. But I think you've got a point that you've competed at a higher level for a sustained period of time. So I would perhaps edge Albion at this moment in time.
Last one from me before we finish. If you asked most of the public at the moment, they couldn't name you a single Birmingham City player. That's me being totally serious.
I think
Robbie Savage.
The current position of clubs doesn't define how big a club is. Like,
no, that's a good point.
Next season, we might stay in the league. You're going to come down. We might finish above you, and we all of a sudden a bigger club. Then it's just, I don't know. And in our lifetime, I know, like, this is, I keep saying this, but in our lifetime, I've seen more success as a Blues fan than any of you have. So you can see why I think that we are a big club. Obviously, we're not bigger than Villa. I'm not gonna say that. But I think between Wolves, Albion, and Blues, we've always, for our lifetime, we've always been battling out. There's been Villa, just been there, which it pains me to say, and then us three have just been kind of battling it out to be the second best, the second biggest and best club in the Midlands. And at the minute, obviously, we are the shittest club in the Midlands, but I don't think it means we're not a big club.
No one's saying that you aren't a big club. You are. You have got the name of the second city. You have had success over the years to an extent, but we're just saying that our clubs are bigger clubs based around fan base, based around history, based around where we currently are. I think on pretty much all those scales, there's a fair gulf.
See, it's been quite nice seeing you three fight it out as who comes the first to lose. But I think from me personally, I think my point is that I think Villa are top, just based on the fact that we're the sixth biggest club in England, never mind in Midlands, based on success. But then I think you kind of, there's a lot of to and froing going on from a lot of your points in terms of fan base. If you go in sort of social media, which is so powerful now, obviously it's West Brom. They've got the most followers. In terms of trophies, obviously Wolves picked that. West Brom, then have got the most Premier League points, but then Blues have got more than Wolves. I personally think there's to and fro in between who is second. If I was going to have to rank it, me personally, I would obviously go Villa first. Probably would go Wolves second. Baggies would be third, and Blues. But then again, I feel like I am tainted by the fact that where you are currently. So, like you say, you are correct in saying is that you're the only club in the last 10 years to have lifted a trophy of significance. However, does that warrant you being bigger than Baggies and Wolves? I don't think it does.
Well, it's, for example, I think one of the points that Alex rose was that there are clubs that are further down the division than perhaps other clubs. For example, Bournemouth have probably finished. They've obviously been a league above, and Nottingham Forest have been in the Championship, even as far down as League One in recent seasons. So, in terms of the pyramid, Bournemouth have probably finished above Forest for the past 8-9 years. Does that make them a bigger club than Nottingham Forest? Absolutely not. So it's not always just a reflection of where you are now. Heritage, history, all that does come into play. And I just think that, to be honest, even the most diehard of West Brom fans could not say they're a bigger club than Wolves.
I think the margins we're talking about are a lot smaller. Like, you've compared Bournemouth to Notts Forest, where obviously the world's apart. Whereas I think Wolves, Albion, and Blues, even if we are the smallest club out the four, it's not by much, and there's just margins. And within 5 years, I think it could change. And I think we are just chopping and changing. And Wolves, obviously, the last 3 years have kind of broke away a bit. But when Wolves are in League One, it changes. So that's my point, really.
I mean, getting relegated to those sort of levels can trigger, a fan base almost to sort of think, okay, we are in desperate times now, and it can actually rally crowds more often. I think the average attendance in League One was actually higher than the final season in the Championship, because the fans all flocked back to sort of get behind the team again. But one thing that I would say is that I think the crowds that we were attracting in League One were at a scale that your two clubs could never do. You could never do it.
That's just speculation, though. That's just speculation.
I don't know about that at all. I think it's easy to look at Wolves now and say, oh, well, at the moment they are second. But like you say, Trig, you look back 5 years ago and we'd be laughing at it, I think, actually. So times do change, to be fair. But I think, one thing to say, I think we should all be pretty proud, to be fair, of each of our clubs, Big, they are four big clubs when you look at it, really. And then I think,
they're only members of the Football League. The Midlands is the heartbeat of the football.
So, no, I think the press focus too much on your Manchesters, your Liverpools, your London clubs. I think we get a bad rep, really, when, to be honest, big teams all over, haven't we?
Absolutely. And I think, media throughout the years have all said that, obviously, I know they're just only down to geographical, but, the National Stadium should have been built, perhaps where St George's Park was built. It should have been in the centre of the country.
Yeah.
Perhaps that would have given Midlands football a huge boost.
See, my kind of argument, to kind of peel it back a little bit further, is that, like, on technicalities in terms of trophies and one thing or another, you say Villa are bigger and West Brom are here and Wolves or whatever. But on that basis, then you're saying that Villa are bigger than someone like Man City now. Now, in theory, I know what you're going to say. They don't have fans and blah, 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 blah. But also to kind of take into account of that now is that I know that for a fact, if a player became available and Man City and Villa were went in for him, where's he going to go? They've got the most recent success. They've won the Premier League. You know what I mean? So I do think that sort of thing does need to get taken, because you can't just base it on we've got more trophies, we're bigger, because right here, right now, and like what Trig said, it does chop and change. Like City are a big, arguably one of the biggest clubs in England because of their most recent success, their money, their backing, their academies, their international status in terms of having clubs in America, Australia. That to me is bigger than what Villa are doing right now. So I would say Man City are bigger than Villa.
I think that's without question, mate, to be honest. I think.
But what I'm saying is, on recent arguments of Villa are bigger because they've got more trophies.
That's just one factor. I think that's just one factor. You got to look at it.
I think it's in comparison to who you're comparing against, though, isn't it? That's what we're saying. It's what you're comparing against.
But again, recent success, you'd say Wolves are bigger than Villa, then, wouldn't you?
We haven't won enough, though. We haven't won enough to warrant that. Man City have won about, something like 7 of the past domestic trophies.
When was the last time Wolves won something big?
Well, obviously, I would count the championship as winning.
A trophy, a major trophy. God, just count champion.
Well, it would be the League Cup in the 80s.
I had a look at all the cup wins, and most of Albion, in fact, I think all of Albion's were in the 60s or before the 60s or before the war. It's like, are we still counting things that happened before the war? Like now, it was so
the cut-off's 1982.
Yeah.
2010 League Cup final, isn't it?
That's the cut-off.
Yeah, okay. Good discussion point anyway. For all you listeners, anyone who wants to add, pop it in the comments section below. Interested to hear other people's opinions, but pretty much 4 out of 4, it's all agreed across the board, bar one gentleman down here of Villa, Wolves, Albion, Blues. But flip of a coin on that last one. Next question, anyway, that I'm going to pitch out to the panel. Something that I've actually given a little bit of thought to in the past couple of days, and I think that given the achievements right now, if you factor in the fact that Sir Alex Ferguson is the only manager in Premier League history to win the Premier League and European Cup in the same season. Jurgen Klopp is the only manager to win the Premier League and the Champions League with the same club, other than obviously Alex Ferguson. If you were to rank Premier League managers right now, would Pep Guardiola be second for what he's doing at Manchester City right now? The reinvention, the amount of trophies that he's won there, the domination, the 100 points, everything he's doing at Manchester City, battling on forefront, season in, season out.
Do you mean overall in the Premier League? Overall?
This season, he's dominating the league without his 2 best players, arguably, on the pitch. The way that he's coaching his team, the way he's setting his team up.
Why would he be number 2, not 1?
You can't put him above Ferguson. I don't think you can.
No, you're saying current. You've just said current right now.
Yeah, for what Guardiola's doing right now, I think if you were to rank Premier League history managers, would Guardiola now be number 2 for what he's doing at Manchester City and what he's achieved?
What about Mourinho? I'd put that in there as well.
but Mourinho never won the Champions League.
He's won multiple Premier League titles.
And I know that Guardiola hasn't, but I think that, okay, Mourinho, in a way, he's failed at Manchester United. He's failing.
I disagree. Before you blow over that, I disagree with that.
But he didn't win the title. He didn't win the title.
No, but you've seen a Man United team in a massive transition over the last 5 years. Hold on. But you've seen him in transition for the last 5 years, and he's the only one who's been able to get into in a competitive position of second. He finished second in a team that, let's face it, was rotten to the core. And still is, really. Like, you can still see one bad result, and the Man United fans are, you just saw this evening, Man United fans racially abusing Martial on social media. The club is rotten to the core, and Mourinho got second with that team.
If he didn't fail at Man United, he wouldn't have got sacked. Simple as that. He did fail because he didn't meet the standards or the expectancy levels. You could argue that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer this season is playing better football than what Mourinho ever got out of those Man United players.
I think
we won a couple of trophies, but for me, I think now there is a fair argument to put Guardiola at number 2. I really
not for me at all. Number 4.
I think at the minute, I don't.
Not beyond Wenger.
No, not Wenger. Klopp.
Are you put Klopp?
Klopp's won the Champions League.
You would put Klopp above Guardiola?
Yeah, I would.
In Premier League history, as a better manager, and I can't be honest.
How much money has Pep Guardiola spent? We've got to have a conversation
you say
half
this.
$1 billion on defenders. Half a billion.
But actually, in recent years, his signings haven't actually been all too drastic. Some of the signings and some of the players he's getting in, it's the way that he coaches the teams and sets them up.
Hold on, mate. He spent 120. He spent 180 million on fullbacks.
In comparison to the other teams and how other teams are currently spending as well, he's not blowing them out the water. He's
Liverpool.
Water.
He is Liverpool.
Liverpool, okay, net spend FC, right? For example, they've still spent unbelievable amounts of money on players. They spent 70 million on a goalkeeper, 75 million on Van Dijk. They spent 40 million on Johnson. They spent 35 million on Mane. They spent 40 million on Salah. Okay, granted, these are big money signings still, nonetheless. 40 million on Oxlade-Chamberlain.
That's nothing compared to City, though, is it? And like Drew's about to say, they sold Coutinho for 100 million, didn't they?
More.
Give someone amounts of money. You've got to expect them to win games, haven't you?
I just cannot see an argument to rank Jurgen Klopp above Pep Guardiola in the all-time Premier League managers.
I think the way Pep came in, and he almost changed football when he came in. And I think the first season, it was a bit slow to start, and then it was like just the Pep way. And then I feel like other managers were just copying what Pep was doing, and it almost revolutionised football and how the Premier League was played. And that's gotta be up there.
It's the domestic trophies. Klopp hasn't even made a semi-final, has he?
But hold on. Let's face it. Like, Pep Guardiola has managed Barcelona, that Manan could have won the title with. He managed Bayern Munich. Fair enough. He had arguably one of the best teams in Europe, got nowhere near Champions League with them. That to me is a failure, by the way. And then now at Man City, he needs to win the Champions League in the next 2 years, or he's failed. For me personally, you spend that sort of money, he's failed. So for me, the jury's out on whether he can be called number 2 Premier League all-time manager.
I agree. I agree with those points. Yeah, a failure at Bayern Munich because he didn't win the Champions League. That's all you're judged on. Outside of England, every club is judged on Champions Leagues or not. PSG, Barcelona, Real Madrid, they don't really care all too much about the domestic competitions. It's all about the Champions League, whereas they hold a little bit more weight over here. But you can't be criticising Guardiola for failing in the Champions League when you've got the likes of Jurgen Klopp, who realistically has only had 2 title challenges in all the seasons he's been at Liverpool. He's not even got close to winning a domestic trophy. So does that not weigh up against what Guardiola's actually won?
He won a Champions League and Premier League back to back. Like, that's an unbelievable achievement, that is. And you look at that Liverpool team he inherited. They haven't won a top flight in however many years. That Liverpool team was on its knees. The City was on its knees, right? He's united that Liverpool team. And that Liverpool team is now a big team. We talk about them every Premier League season. They're a big team. You go back 5 or 6 years ago, or even more, 10 years ago, the Roy Hodgson era, absolute disaster. You look at the team, you've got people like Paul Konchesky playing. look, fast forward 10 years. Look at that team Klopp's got now. It's unbelievable. And like,
yeah, but I don't want to talk about what Klopp's done for Liverpool. Klopp's done unbelievable, and yet he would be fairly ranked within the top 5. But there's no way you could put him above Guardiola.
He's won a Champions League.
The way that Guardiola has sort of got that City team going. This is likely now to be his third or fourth title at Man City this season. His third Man City. He won back-to-back, the first time in 10 years to win back-to-back. He's won the domestic treble for the first time in English football history. He reached 100 points in the Premier League. These things, I mean, even Jurgen Klopp, for all Liverpool were great last season, they didn't hit 100 points.
Can I ask you a question, though? You know, let's say Guardiola took the Champions League as serious as Klopp does. Do you think that he would be taking the domestic cups? Like, with the greatest respect, like other than Blues fans who hold on to the Carling Cup, do you think City go down the pub and start talking about the FA Cup and Carling Cup? No. But do you think Liverpool go down? Hold on. Do you think Liverpool go down the pub and start talking about all their Champions Leagues? They do, because let's face it. If you were a professional footballer and someone said to you, "Tell me what you would want to win," let's face it, it'd be the Premier League, Champions League, World Cup. It doesn't matter what order, they're the top 3. No one cares about the FA Cup or Carling Cup, realistically. So, with the greatest respect, me personally, I think Jurgen Klopp is more decorated in the Premier League than Pep Guardiola is.
No, I can't be having that. I mean, I completely get your point about the fact that, you know, the domestic cups aren't on a scale. You know, are they even major trophies anymore? The FA Cup and the League Cup. That's a debate for another day. You know, the true match are obviously the League and the Champions.
Yeah, they are.
They're obviously the League and the Champions League. They are they are the two trophies, especially to elite level clubs. I just don't think, you know, we've had this discussion, and I think I mentioned it might have been on episode 1 or episode 2, where I said that Man City's failures within the Champions League probably do come down to the fact that they're fighting on all 4 fronts, season in, season out, and they're going deep into every competition, season in, season out. And I think that is a factor as to why they have failed in the Champions League. And
Guardiola last year,
something has to give on one of those fronts. They might never win the Champions League until they put all their focus into solely the Champions League with the league. But I think that the way that Guardiola, you know, he can coach an average player to become a world-class player. And I think he's got a unique vision on football that none of the other managers could. I believe that if Pep Guardiola was managing this current Tottenham team, they could possibly win the league. He's that good. His coaching methods.
Can you name me 3 players? Name me 3 players Pep Guardiola's took from being average to world class.
Well, I think that there's a few that are in there right now. I think Ruben Dias, Phil Foden, the starters. There's
how much of Ruben Dias did you watch?
And probably Edison.
I don't agree with that.
Ruben Dias. Okay, if I hadn't, I had barely heard of the guy, but now everybody knows who he is. Is that not an elevation in the guy's stock and the
John Stones?
He's taken. Aymeric Laporte.
I'll give you that one, John Stones. That's probably the only one I agree with.
He has taken Laporte out of that team. Laporte was everyone's best defender in the league, bar Van Dijk, 12 months ago.
Are we saying Ollie Solskjaer is world class then because he's took Bruno Fernandes to the best player or one of the best players in Premier League?
Agree. Ruben Dias was world class before he came, and you don't get that sort of a price tag. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, he's actually taken people from Newcastle, Jurgen Klopp, in terms of Wijnaldum. He was like, no one could understand why he's going to Liverpool. Now he has to start for Liverpool. He's so important to that team. Van Dijk comes from Southampton. Robertson, you know what I mean? So there's loads that Jurgen Klopp has done for, and you know, there's discussions that, you know, people like Andy Robertson, who've sort of come from where he's come from, he's probably one of the top 5 left backs in the world right now.
I think for Liverpool to have got to that level to start competing with Manchester City, it's taken a hell of a lot of money. It's taken a long time in terms of years, and they've had to throw everything at it to get to those standards for 2 seasons. for 2 seasons. Pep Guardiola has sustained that level. He's sustained.
He hasn't. He hasn't.
Trophies. He
won a Champions League though.
Season.
And he lost the Premier League to Leicester.
That was a season. I mean, come on, look.
I don't care. You're telling me that he's. You're telling me he's the elite of the elite. You can't lose seasons, Premier League titles to Leicester City, and the points total that he gained that year with the money that was spent that year as well.
Jurgen Klopp was in charge of Liverpool.
First year. It's his first year.
Would you not say Pep was
first year? It was Pep's first year.
Pep was at fault for the Lyon game last year. The only person at fault
100%.
for that.
No, I completely agree. He's not without his flaws. But neither is Jurgen Klopp. And I think that, you know, to compare the two managers, I think if you look through a history and a period of time, I think that the way that Pep is heading right now, I don't think that there can really be much debate to put him second behind Ferguson. I mean, you know, obviously Wenger tainted his legacy towards the end. He only even had 1 European Cup final with Arsenal, you know, but he had got the Invincibles. And through the late 90s and early 2000s, to compete with that Manchester United setup and that crop of Manchester United players, you know, took one hell of a fantastic coach. So for that alone, he demands respect. So he would have to be within, you know, a top 5, top 6 sort of shout. The same as Mourinho for the way that those 2 Chelsea teams, 05, 06, and then reinventing himself and coming back and winning it again at Chelsea when Manchester City and Liverpool the season before were the 2 top teams in the division. You know, he got the likes of Demba Ba at his disposal, but still went to win a league. But I just think with Guardiola, everything that he brings to the game, he's a born winner. The guy's a born winner, and he would not settle for anything less. Ferguson, Guardiola, Mourinho, Wenger, Klopp.
Wenger didn't win a Champions League, man. Like, Wenger was fantastic. Wenger was fantastic. They bottled it against Barcelona. Like, you know, Wenger was
that invincible side were just, you know, it was handcrafted. It was by design. And
Wenger stayed too long.
Summarised.
He did.
Yeah, he went stale.
He damaged his legacy.
He did go stale. But the way, okay, so the way that Mourinho's going now at Tottenham is that damaging his legacy?
I'd say so, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
The way that it's going with Klopp with the early years and the way that it's gone this season, would that potentially not damage his legacy?
We don't know how it's going to go, do we?
But, you know, I'm interested. I've just ranked mine. I'd be interested to hear what you guys have got then on the rankings side of things.
Yeah. Before I tell you mine, I'm going to tell you until Guardiola outmanages this Bayern Munich team, he can't be classed as number 2 for me, because he just hasn't won a Champions League, and that to me is so important. So I'm going to go obviously Ferguson. I'm going to go Klopp. I'm going to go Guardiola, Mourinho, Wenger.
Ferguson, Mourinho, just because I think of what Mourinho did his impact when he came to Champions League. Are we just looking purely Premier League? If not, he won a Champions League with Inter Milan. Like, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think if you look at most decorated, I think you've got to look at Mourinho as being number 1, really, because of how. I mean, who could have? But would Ferguson have won the Champions League with Porto?
Well,
that's outrageous.
Ancelotti's won 3.
Ancelotti's
yeah.
Decorated. So we're talking
Ferguson
about Premier League impact.
Ferguson won Premier Leagues with average Man United teams. I'll tell you what, the last Premier League title Ferguson won, that was a piss poor Man United team. That should be nowhere near it. So Ferguson by far top for me. I think you could debate the next 4, and I think we'd all be in agreement. It's got to be Wenger, Klopp, Pep, and Mourinho. For Mourinho comes in second. If you count in Champions League as well, I think Klopp's impact on Liverpool and what he's done is a third for me. I think Pep 4th and then Wenger 5th. Wenger never had that impact on you know, the European scene, did he? I think maybe we're looking too much into the future and we're not giving Wenger enough credit, to be fair, because that was an unbelievable Arsenal side. But yeah, that's the way I see it, Trig.
I'm going to go, obviously, Ferguson first. I'm going to go Pep second. Just because I think we're looking at it now, and I think City are going to thrash the league. They're going to win it by probably 15 points, and they are going to win a Champions League maybe this year or the next year. So, and that cements him there for me then. And then I'm going to go Mourinho although, like we just said, he's, the last few years, he's damaging his reputation a bit. And then I'm going to go Klopp. And their current position plays a part in that, just because he might get the sack. And you can't, I don't know, you can't afford to get the sack and still be one of the best managers in the league. And Wenger, 5th.
And Mourinho had the sack multiple times, though, didn't he?
Yeah, I just think what he'd done with Chelsea, though, was, I don't know, he was the special one for so many years. And Klopp's only done it for, I don't know, Klopp's come over, he's won a couple of things, but if he gets sacked now, where does he go from then?
This is his last big job. Last big job for me.
Yeah. So, that's my 5.
Yeah, I think Mourinho will probably sort of phase into the international scene after this, personally.
Yeah, okay. As long as it's not England.
Another good debate there. Again, I'd say it to all you listeners. Comment section below. Let us know how you rank. Well, what we want to know is the top 5 managers in Premier League history and the impact that they've had on the Premier League, English football as a whole. Okay, then next question. Then pretty much just off the back of that, just a quick point, just a quick yes or no. Should Klopp leave Liverpool? Yes or no?
No.
No,
I don't think so either. Okay, right. Anyway, so let's bring us on to our next point then. As promised on Twitter, I did say that I would go into detail. I won't take up too much of your time on this one, but it's dissecting what's going on at Wolves at the moment and with Nuno, and my opinion of the fact that he should be shown the door in the most respectful way. I'm going to read out, it would have been a lot easier for me to done this 24 hours ago, 48 hours ago, given today's results. Probably even at half time today, it would have been, probably peak. The second half today was much better. Yes, it was a very dodgy penalty and it changed the whole complexion of the game. Once again, Pedro Neto was our shining beacon. But my question straight away at full time was, why couldn't we have done this when it truly mattered? Albion at home, Southampton the other day in the Cup, which was our only meaningful game for 6 months. Why couldn't this team have played then? It's incredibly frustrating. Nuno's had 3 seasons to build a squad. Injuries to players have left us exposed. You look at, for example, you do look at Manchester City. I know they've got incredible strength in depth, but they're missing their 2 best players and they're absolutely trouncing the league. And we've never been a one-man team. So I don't know where this has all come from. I think that Nuno's peaked with Wolves. The performance levels dropped off badly. A bad patch for me is 4 or 5 games, not 15 to 20 games. 3-2 down at home to Albion, who's slumped in his chair, brings a left back on as his first change, and no striker on until the 80th minute, playing with an elastic band sat in his chair, should be up on the sideline screaming. Where's the Nuno that was at Bristol City away in the Championship, giving it to the crowd, running on the pitch at Cardiff, giving it to Neil Warnock? He's a shell of himself. I understand, obviously, at full time today, the emotional spilled out. But I don't see what the club are actually waiting for. If they need to get rid now, personally. And the reason for that being is that if we don't, the transition period will only extend into next season. If you get rid of him now, we've got a manager that could be brought in for the remaining 10 games of the season. He can have a look what he needs, identify what he needs. Every club has a cycle and a sell-by date, and this is it for me now. We got flogged at home by Southampton the other night. We had 1 shot on target in the only meaningful game that we've obviously got for 6 months. Who cares about where we finish in the league now? Who cares if we finish above Brighton, if we finish above Burnley? Wow, congratulations. Where's the trophy for that? I'd rather a cup run, right? We turned it a stinker at Burnley. We blew a 3-1 lead at Brighton. We got battered at home by West Brom in the second half. 8-4, 8-4, 8-battled, 8-gunned. Absolute embarrassment. There's no room for sentiment in football, and the club haven't held on to deadwood when it comes to players at all. The Championship crop, Cavallero, Bennett, Costa, Barry Douglas, Matt Doherty, who's been at the club for 10 years, John Ruddy, who's in goal, got put on the bench. All these players, there's many more that have just been pushed to the side because they haven't been good enough. So I don't know why the manager is any different. There's people, for example, like Stephen, you'll never be a top 6 team. But what we're witnessing now is not acceptable. The performance level has been non-existent for a sustained period of time now. There's been nothing on the pitch to suggest to me that this can turn around. We had a 45-minute half of football today where he may have gone in that dressing room and actually give it some. And it got a reaction out the players. But where has this been for a long period of time now? And it is time for a change. It is time for fresh ideas. And I'm just very obviously passionate about it.
Question for you: who replaces him if he goes?
Well, this is the question that constantly gets being thrown around, and the comments being thrown around is the manager isn't out there. I always say, who'd heard of Nuno before he came to Wolves? I hadn't heard of Nuno, and I'm pretty sure no one else here had heard of Nuno. So out there is always someone that can come in with fresh ideas and just to get a reaction out of these players who don't seem to be playing for the manager anymore. We had a dodgy penalty today, which turned the whole game on its head. Up to that point, we were bang out of it. The same against Arsenal. We were getting battered, and a tangle of legs in the box changed the whole game. We've got lucky on 2 occasions. Granted, we had a dodgy handball away at Leicester earlier on in the season with Kilman. And, everyone says they all level themselves out. But I'm of the belief that 2 wrongs don't really make a right. Who would replace him? I have said that I would take Frank Lampard. I don't think he's a bad manager, and I think he's got a point to prove. And I think coming to a club like Wolves now, in the position that we're in, the pressure kind of wouldn't be there, I don't think, as intense as at Chelsea. He's the only manager who's actually got Derby close to actually getting promoted. For all the money they've had and all the teams that they've had and being in and around the top 6 season on season end, he's come the closest of all, really, to getting them up. So I would take Frank Lampard, but I'm under no illusion. There probably may be better options out there. I haven't got a list to my hand, of vacant managers that are currently out there. I would accept a young up-and-coming manager, a coach perhaps from abroad or even in this country that may not even have a proven track record, but something's got to give. Something has to change for me. We need a new idea. We need something to change everything up there, because there's so much deadwood now in this team. Leander Dendoncker.
I'll get Jake started, our friend Jake.
The cross today, you've got to throw your body at that. You can't be standing there like that with your arms behind, like a toy soldier. Throw your body at it. Stop that cross. You've got one job. Stop that cross. It happened against Everton. It cost us the game.
To be honest with you, I'm going to be a bit controversial. I actually don't think Nuno's done a great job at Wolves. I'll be honest with you. The season that you went up, I think you went up with a mid-table Premier League side, and I don't care. No one can give me an argument against that. You had, I think, Premier League class players in that team, in your Jotas, your Neves. You still had Willy Bolly, Cody. You went up. You threw a lot of money at it again to make it. To be honest with you, I know you've done this sort of loan to them buy eventually, but ultimately you went up, and then the players that you added, which were majority Portuguese that probably have played with each other through the youth systems or whatever it might have been. You for me had a top 8 team, and he's achieved 7th twice with a team that with a decent system in place, which I'll give him granted for. Last season in the Premier League, I enjoyed watching him. I thought he had a good ethos. I thought he played well. You got some cracking results, like sort of. I think you beat City away at their place.
Done the double over City. Done the double over City last season.
So, but I think I do genuinely think any average manager could have done what he did with the team and players that he was given.
I think that's unfair.
The X factor has gone.
Yeah, I think he's done a good job. Then he has done a good job. To finish 7th, and then you had a great Europa League run as well. That you played one of the well-known, probably one of the better Europa League teams. The issue with Nuno is he's persistent on this small squad policy, and you can't do that. You just can't do that in the Premier League, especially if you're fighting on 2 fronts. I'm not going to lie, that you've had a disaster transfer window in August, September as well. You look at the players been brought in, and Trig, I know you love young Fabio there, but he probably hasn't had the time, has he? And it's hard to call him a flop at the moment. And I'm sure he will do well. But you paid so much money for him. You know, you look at Semedo, he plays poor. I don't know how he played for Barcelona. He's terrible. I get a lot of flack about Matt Doherty being an FPL player and not actually a good footballer, but he did a job for you boys. He did a job for you boys for quite a number of years, actually. And I appreciate you've got to progress, but I think sometimes the Mendes has been great for you guys, and let's not get that wrong. He's played a big part in what you guys have achieved. But sometimes I think the Mendes connection also harms you as well. I just wonder how much say Nuno's got in some of those transfers that come in, actually.
Yeah, I think that's the issue between why you've let Jota go so quickly, because let's face it, the way that Jota sort of hit the ground running with Liverpool, he represents a higher fee than 40 million for me personally. Like the way he hit the ground running, me and you, Dale, have been saying for years, I think he's like got a very, very bright future in front of him. And for me personally, he's the one player I said to you in the summer, you cannot afford to lose. I know a lot of people said Jimenez. However, before, you know...
The better end of the deal, Liverpool got the better end of that deal. There's no doubt about it. For me, the final nail of the Nuno coffin was Thursday night. The league's dead. The league is dead. You know, we might finish 12th, we might finish 11th, we might finish 15th. You know, that's pretty much in and around where we're likely to finish, to be honest. You know, why not have a go at the Cup? Why not have a go at the Cup? Yeah. Southampton have ended up drawing Bournemouth in the next round. And to have put that side out tells me that either his desire's gone or it's a message to the board to say, you need to back me because these signings aren't mine, and maybe it was a message to the board. If fans were in there on Thursday night, it would have been a bloodbath. There's no doubt about it. The Boo Boys would have been out. The Boo Boys, as they're well known as, around the Molyneux, they would have been out in force. It was an absolute disgrace. One shot on target in 90 minutes at home to Southampton. I don't care what level of football you're playing at. A League Two team could have put up a better fight than what we put in on Thursday. It was an absolute disgrace. It was indefensible. There's nobody who could stand by him for that. Everyone's turning around and saying, well, we've gone and won the league game today. Who cares? Who cares? I would rather have won Thursday night and lost today. And that's the
you might as well go for a cup. Like you say,
point?
You're not going to get relegated. You're not going to get Europe. So it doesn't matter where you finish in between those positions. You might as well just try and win a cup because they are major tournaments.
It's not even just about that. It's about keeping the fan, giving the fans a little bit of excitement. The fact now is the next season not starting for another 6 months, and we've got nothing now. We've just got nothing games. We've got an away game against Albion, and that's it.
I know that feeling very well, Dale.
And that's all we've got. That's all we've got. Which people can say, we've been spoilt, we've overachieved. Okay, 2 7th-place finishes. We fell into 7th last season when we should have finished higher up in the table, given where we were with 5 games to go. Granted, we lost to Sevilla in the European quarter-final, and they went on to win it. And I've even tipped them as an outside bet for the Champions League this season at 50-1. But I just think that the whole ethos of the club, everything connected to it now, it's done, it's finished. Now's the time to move on. I probably do hold a unique view on this one, that the club have their window to get rid of him now. We've got a European Championships in the summer where transfers are always slow in and around that time anyway. You've got your own sets of players going off, especially us obviously with Portugal. You've got your own players going off anyway. You're not going to see them back until about 4 weeks before the start of the season anyway, if you're lucky. If the Euros goes ahead on the current schedule. So for a manager to come in the summer doesn't really make much sense to me. You're not giving him much time in the transfer window, even to look at what he's got on a competitive basis, other than on an international front. Now's the window. Whilst you've got nothing to play for, you can bring a manager in. You can have a look what he's got for the next, 8, 9, 10 games, judge what he needs in the transfer window and get to work. If it gets to the point that the club holding on out of sentiment, it makes 0 sense. If it goes to the summer, personally, I would rather the club just turn around, get the biggest pot of money available and just give it to Nuno and say, sign who you want to sign and back him. And we'll move forward.
It's not going to happen.
Because changing the manager in the summer makes no sense to me. Change now, or gets to the summer and you stick with him and back him.
But to me, effectively, Nuno fits all sort of areas for Wolves, because he's clearly a yes man, because he gets told who he gets to sign, because Uncle George comes in and tells him that you're having this Portuguese wonder kid. Let's face it, I'm sure he would have heard of Fabio Silva, but would he have sort of said, yeah, let's go and I'm putting my neck out, I want you to put 35 million down for Fabio Silva? I can't see it. Whereas, like I say, you know, you bring Jota in and it's almost like a gentleman's agreement, kind of develop him. As soon as a big club comes in for him, off you go. And unfortunately, as good as Mendes has been for you, I think he will prove to be as big a disadvantage to you as well.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't really want to sort of stay on it for too long. This is a Midlands-based podcast. It's not just a Wolves-based podcast. Those are the feelings that I wanted to air and get off my chest. I've tried to say as little as possible, really, on Twitter, if any of you that do follow me, about it all, especially muttering the words of Nuno out. I think that, those words are quite disrespectful. I know, obviously, I've muttered it around in the chat, but it is only on a joking basis. I want the guy to be respected. What he has done for the club, bringing us up, establishing us back in the Premier League, he has done a good job. But for me, I just think that the cycle's up now and the time's over. And now it's the absolute. We'll never get an opportunity, the better opportunity like this, to make that pledge, to make that change, and go for a different direction.
I just think, what is your new direction? Like, do you want to, where do you go from here? I think we spoke on the last podcast that we done together. You're not going to break into the top six. You finished 7th twice in a row. Where do you go from here? If you get a new manager in, what do the board say to him? Break into that top 6. Yeah, you've got to be ambitious, but you've got to be realistic as well. What do you think?
Well, I understand that, but I just think what we're witnessing now hasn't been acceptable. We've been on the decline. We went to West Ham at the early part of the season and got smashed up 4-0 away. The back end of last season, we got beaten home to Arsenal easy, and they were bang out of form at the time. And it's just been a slow and steady decline ever since then, really. And the performance level, and that's all I ever beat the drum about. It's the performance level, and it's the way that it's declined so much. So that's what warrants, for me, a fresh change, a fresh approach. Even Drew, he said it used to be exciting to watch. We had that X factor. We could win any game at any given moment, no matter what the opponent. But now we're branded as the worst team in the league and we're boring to watch. How can it happen that quickly? I know we've had injuries here and there, but for me, I would rather, when something goes stale like that, you change it. And even if we're only achieving the same sort of figures of a 7th or an 8th place finish, for me, it's about maintaining a high performance level. Players who want to play for the club, play for the shirt, and give us exciting football.
2 questions. I just want one answer to both. So is it Nuno out or in?
It's Nuno out for me.
And one manager that you'd like to choose?
One
word. Don't want explanation, just one word.
I would accept Frank Lampard.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay. That's enough about me anyway. I've spoken quite a lot tonight, haven't I? Really. With a few technical glitches at the start as well with young Alex. We got going a little bit later than we'd actually want to. Just to run through today's results anyway. Southampton 1, Wolves 2. West Brom 1, Manchester United 1.
Fantastic result.
Should have won. I thought we played fantastic. We should have won. We had a couple of chances. Diagno, first time in years we've had a proper first time couple of years actually we had Rodriguez and Dwight Gale. First time we've had a centre forward in the Premier League anyway. This season shows you what a difference it makes. Sam Johnson made that save at the end, brilliant save. But we should have won that game. And I don't know, what are we playing for really? You know what I mean? We've got 4 games coming up that we could win, but it's I think I said last time, it's too far gone now, and it's all about pride, unfortunately. But great result, can't knock it.
Do you find with West Brom, Sam, that you seem to your best performances are against teams that, like your City, Liverpool, Man U today, seems to be your best performances, and unfortunately, it's just like, you know, they're the easy games to get up for. I get that. You know, everyone looks forward to playing those games, but that's not enough substance to stay up, is it? You've got to be able to get up. And you know, saying that, Villa and Wolves have both lost to Burnley this season, but you've got to be able to get up for the Burnleys on a Tuesday night. You've got to be able to get up for your Brightons, and you know, I just feel like at the minute that's kind of what's been the difference, yeah, because they've shown that they can do it.
All I'd say is, first time today, we've got our loan signings in, and this is probably the team that we'll play going forward. I wasn't really impressed with Maitland-Niles today, to be honest with you, but you look at the loan signings, he's probably the one that you think, you know, good standard. OK came in today, did well actually. First time we've had an enforcer in the midfield for a number of years, probably to Claudio Jacob, who was fantastic for us. We've just left it too late. Why didn't we make these signings in summer, knowing that the squad quality wasn't there? And some of that, unfortunately, you've got to pass the buck on to Village. Also blame the board as well. But it's just a sad state of affairs, and it shows we can do it. We've just left it too late.
Pretty much like last time you went down, weren't it, really? Darren Moore seemed to get a kick out the players towards the end.
Pulis, and we hired Alan Pardew and went on a bloody Gareth Barry taxi driver.
Oh, you should have stuck with Pepe Mel, to be honest with you.
Oh, legend.
What about yesterday for you, Alex? Slumped to a feet.
God, we're getting worse. It's the tactics, I think. I'm not one to call for a manager's head. I think it's almost quite small-minded to just, and I don't mean to directly at you, but that's what it sounds like, but it's not. Just when you lose a few games, I want the manager out. I just think it's you've got to look beyond that. Karanka was the guy that we chose at the start of the season, and I thought it was a very good appointment. And I was in for a decent season. I think if we get mid-table. But now his tactics are just wrong. They're just so... Stop laughing.
Mid-table or middle of the bottom table? Half of the table.
I think we've got some decent players. But his tactics are just wrong. So we went 1-0 down, and he takes off an attacking midfielder, the only bright spark of the first half, and then brings on a holding midfielder or a more defensive midfielder when you're chasing the game at home to Luton. And I was pulling my hair out. I was fuming watching the game for 15, 20 minutes.
Scott Hogan?
No, Scott Hogan started, yeah. He was still on the pitch. But
no, they're pulling him off. Oh, no.
Halilovic came off and Raheem Harper went on. And that was the first sub he made when you're chasing the game. And then for the next 15 minutes, it was obviously shit because we're not creating anything, but we weren't anyway. And then he made a triple change, and that was an attacking change. And it was like, why didn't he just do that in the first place? So then he went 2 up top. Djukovic is on the bench, and we're playing to Djukovic's strengths when he's not even on the pitch. So you've got Scott Hogan, and the ball's coming into his chest, and we're trying to lump it. He's not going to hold up the ball. Like, Scott Hogan's getting a lot of stick, but he's not even getting chances to do anything. He needs to play 2 up top, Djuki and either Hogan or this Cosgrove guy that we've signed. And he made the positive changes after he made that defensive change. But we looked probably slightly better, but you just need to start the game more attacking at home to Luton. It's just not good enough.
4 shots all game.
Shocking.
Yeah, we don't have shots. we just don't have shots. How many of them were on target?
1.
We just don't create things, and we should be creating things. We've got wingers who can actually beat a man. The final ball isn't great, but you're whipping the final balls in to Scott Hogan. So he's not going to... And I can see it, and all Blues fans can see it. So I don't know what I don't know what he's thinking. It's ridiculous.
I think the demise of Birmingham really was when you kind of won the League Cup. I think it must have weighed these players down.
It was Carson Young.
All of a sudden, the shirt it's weighing 10 ton, and these players can't go, can they? This League Cup.
It's because your owner sells
Following in the
too many
footsteps of
trophies.
giants.
He don't want any more trophies because he sells them.
Footsteps of giants. Another Midlands team decided to put in a stinker away at Brighton yesterday.
Yeah, I've got to say, me personally, I think it was the worst performance I've seen under Smith since he took over Championship, Premier League a lot. I know there's some big losses in there, you know, kind of City at home last season. But I've got to say, I think yesterday, I think we just looked. One thing I can say about Villa, and always will say about Villa this season, is that even when we lose, we look like we're going to score goals. We look like we're working hard. We look like we've got a bit of a game plan. Whereas last night was probably back to sort of last season to a certain degree. That I think all four of us as Midlands fans have always, you know, what you've said already, Dale, is that you can accept losing, but you kind of expect the bare minimum, and that's working hard. And last night we just had nothing about us. There was no character. I think the only positive I could say about last night is that this time last season we would have lost that game. We managed to still come away with a point. We still, you know, 22, 23 games into the season, and we're above Arsenal, which, you know, if you'd have said that to me at the start of this season, that you're going to be at the halfway point of the season, you're going to be above Arsenal, I wouldn't have believed you. I don't think anyone would have believed you. You know, I said it last week. I'll say it again. We can't lose sight of the fact that we stayed up by our fingertips last season. Our fingernails last season, and it's very easy because you go and put in some decent performances and win some very decent games with decent score lines that you think, oh, that's it. We're a shoo-in for Europe. We're not, you know. And I think this is probably where Alex is sort of saying to you a little bit about you need to manage your expectations. I know you've had a long sort of period of success, but we are where we are. We're a Midlands football club that, you know, we're not a Chelsea. We're not, you know, we need to build ourselves into that. And I think, you know, if anyone would have offered me 10th at the start of the season, I would have snatched your hand off. And now would I be disappointed with 10th? Potentially, because I think some of the games we've lost has been very, very disappointing. But ultimately, again, that just highlights exactly where we are as a team, you know, and there is going to be some worst performances this season, and there's going to be some results that I can't get my head around, but ultimately we'll probably go and then beat Chelsea and then lose to Brighton in the same week. Do you know what I mean? That's just Villa at the moment, but we'll take it on the chin, you know, and like I say, the only positive I can take from it is that we didn't lose the game, and last season we would have. Simple as that.
Okay, excellent. Right. Final thoughts anyway. We'll be back midweek as we were last week. Be a full panel again, hopefully. We'll be back with a midweek Champions League special and talking about anything that sort of occurs between Sunday and Wednesday. I hope you've enjoyed again. Anybody that wants to sort of come on, offer their opinions in future episodes, drop any of us a link on Twitter and we'll be in touch. Open to everyone and anyone to come on, talk about anything. Doesn't necessarily even have to be football based, but that's obviously predominantly what we are here for. So thanks again anyway for tuning in, and hopefully like and subscribe.